In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning about how to master a shot list. So this is going to include 13 tips on how-tos, and more importantly, it's also going to include the why. Why do we use a shot list? Why is it so important? And I'm also going to show you one example from my own film of me using my own shot list and then what the results looked like. So why do we create a shot list? As Alfred Hitchcock once said, the film is made at the desk long before a single roll of film is shot. All great directors have done the hard work prior to filming. As director Edward Dmytryk discussed in his book Cinema, Concept and Practice, great filmmaking is a three-step process. 1. The concept is written. 2. The translation of that concept into images the audiences can interpret. And 3. The delivery of the original message, but not in its original words. In other words, film represents its own language, and you can think of converting the script into images as a sort of translation. If this is all starting to sound a little esoteric, bear with me. Dmytryk, in his book, gives the famous shower scene in Hitchcock's Psycho as an example of what he's talking about. In the script, a woman is taking a shower and gets murdered. But how do we film that and convey it to the audience? Hitchcock used over 100 cuts. Many of those shots aren't even understandable. And on top of all of that, Hitchcock never shows a knife entering the woman's body. Yet, what this montage instantly conveys is a horrific murder. Each member of the audience, in his or her own way, is thinking, "My God, she's being killed in the bathtub." In the hands of an amateur filmmaker, these scenes could fall very flat indeed. Why? Because many filmmakers don't take the time to pre-plan. And the most important aspect of pre-planning your film shoot, in my humble opinion, comes from the shot list. As Dmytryk points out, most directors simply let the action unfold and film it as if it were a theater play. This is the laziest form of directing possible and leads to boring shots. Instead, filmmakers should use shot lists to take full advantage of cinema's unique power, the power to convey emotions and story through unique shots. As a quick aside, I will say that a very strange thing happens when you use a shot list. I have always written my own scripts, and no matter how vividly I picture the film as I'm writing, when I use a shot list, it forces my brain to think cinematically, and the script as well as the final film inevitably alter, many times drastically for the better. Alright, so here are my 13 tips on how to get the most out of your shot list. Number 1, use 3 columns for descriptions of script, performance notes, and technical notes. Here's an example of what that looks like. I also create columns for setup number, scene number, and shot number. This helps me see at a glance how many setups I have in a given day and plan accordingly. The left-hand column for the description of the script is the literal script copy and pasted into this column to help you remember where you are in the story. Often the shot you designed will deviate substantially from the description of the script, so it's important to keep the original version, i.e. the script, in this column so you're not confused. The second column in the middle are any performance notes you may want to give the actor. I don't often fill this section out unless there's a particular emotion I want to emphasize that's not indicated in the script. It's also good to keep separate the performance notes from the technical behind the camera notes, which is the third column on the right hand side. Here, we describe how the camera is mounted, or perhaps handheld if it's not mounted, the frame size, and the millimeter of lens used. We also describe any details like how the actor and/or camera will move during the duration of that shot. Number 2, keep it simple. Seems like basic advice, but never forget this when creating a shot list. The more overly descriptive you are with your shot list, the more problems you'll face when on set. Actors and crew will be asking you questions, you'll be under stress, and if your shot list is super complicated and overly descriptive, it'll start to read like Greek letters. Number 3, when designing your shot list, you want to think of each shot in relation to the others. In other words, you want to envision exactly how the final, ideal version of your film will appear. Now, of course, when this gets filmed and edited, it will change. But seeing the finished film first will help you create ideal shots to shoot. Number 4, present the shots on the shot list the way they will appear in the final edit, not the shooting order for the day. For example, let's say you only have a particular location for 2 hours, so you decide to film setups 7, 9, 13, and 15 one after the other. Why would you not want to structure your shot list in that order? Because putting your shot list Out of order will confuse you as to that setup's relationship in the bigger picture. Confused, you'll be more likely to forget key moments in performance, and continuity will be a mess in editing. It's okay to shoot out of order, just don't rearrange your shot list to reflect that. Number 5, 24 setups should be about the max number of setups you do for the day. Any more than that, and you're in danger. Quality drops quickly when you're running out of time, or you force actors and crew to remain on set for long hours because you didn't do your job to organize the production properly. Believe me when I tell you that the final film will be hurt by being too aggressive with the number of setups you shoot in a day. Number 6, if the film shoot is multiple days long, break the shot list into multiple shot lists according to production day and give these to your DP ahead of time. Number 7, it's perfectly acceptable to deviate from the shot list during actual filming, and that it is inevitable. With the shot list in hand and having it in your mind, you have a better idea of what deviations you can make that will still cut well with everything else you're filming. Your final film will only be enhanced by a shot list. Creativity, that often fickle element, benefits from a shot list. It is never diminished by the shot list. Number 8, always review your shot list many times before filming. Actors memorize lines, directors memorize shot lists. You may think you know your shot list well, but if you haven't repeatedly gone through it, Murphy will make an appearance on your set and rain havoc with his law. Sets are often stressful, and it's easy to get lost when you don't have your shot list down pat. Number 9, the process will feel unnatural at first, especially if you have a screenwriting background. This is normal. Practice will make you better. For filming, you generally want to prioritize your setups for lighting in mind first. Everything else generally will come second. This also can mean that setups filming in the same direction should be lumped together. The larger the cast and crew, the more applicable this becomes. Again, your shot list will remain in the order it will appear when editing is completed, but your setup schedule will be out of order to accommodate the most practical filming to save money and time. Number 11, use the shot list to review the bigger picture. Contrast is key. Take advantage of being able to view your film from 30,000 feet using the shot list. Close-ups don't cut well with other close-ups, so if you have 2 in a row on your shot list, think about changing one of these 2 shots to a medium or a wide, for example. Number 12, always aim to economize your setups. For example, are there 2 setups you can combine into a single setup? I always find setups in my shot list that I wrote down initially that I later delete before getting onto set. Filmmaking is long and hard enough, so do yourself a favor and slim the number of setups down as much as possible. And finally, tip number 13, the script becomes virtually unnecessary once the shot list is complete. When I'm directing, I rarely reference the script unless I'm trying to look up something that I originally was thinking way back when. The shot list becomes the Bible, and the script is relegated to the past. Now, let's briefly talk about storyboards versus shot lists. I never use storyboards. When I'm coming up with my shot list, I'll often sketch out stick figures to conceptualize my shots, but I find storyboards to be incredibly time-consuming and very restrictive creatively on set. For big budget films with complex visual effects, I'm sure they're very useful. For everything else, I'd say leave them behind. Something also to keep in mind, there are 2 types of filmmaking styles, one where the camera comes to the actor, the other where the actor comes to the camera. For performance-based realism, having the camera come to the actor is the method of choice. This means there probably won't be a shot list required. Instead, the director will rehearse with the actors, see where they end up, and then place the camera in the best place possible to capture what happens. I personally am not a fan of this type of filmmaking, but understand these are usually films that involve deep character development and a high sense of realism. For all other films, having the actor come to the camera is the way to go. This doesn't necessarily mean the actor actually walks toward the camera, rather that the camera and the actor are choreographed ahead of time using a shot list. This is, for me, the most ideal way to take advantage of filmmaking. Finally, let's look at a quick series of shots from my short film Teddy. He suddenly looks up, staring off into nothing. Perhaps some lighting flashes. Tripod close-up to extreme close-up 21mm. Use his head turn to cut. Low angle. Bert's head turns to face the camera, his eyes looking crazed. Hold. Then, when his eyes really bulge, quickly cant the camera and perhaps push it in even closer to Bert's face. His imagination, the inside of the garage, the lone box where Teddy rests. We slowly push in on the box. The lid to the box carefully opens on its own, a beat, and then a stuffed Teddy arm moves out of the box, reaching over the edge. Dolly, wide to medium wide, 21mm lens. Camera is shooting toward garage door, box in center. Slow dolly forward and dolly move to medium wide shot of box. When camera stops moving, beat, then the teddy arm comes out of the box. Beat. Then the entire teddy bear lifts its head out of the box, looking right at the camera. Use this movement to cut to shot 2. Tripod, close-up, 85mm. Use final movement of teddy bear to cut into close-up of bear. Same axis as shot 1. Montage, pacing back and forth. Hulking guy gets up from the recliner, unnerved. He quickly walks through the living room, through the kitchen, through the office, and slams open the garage door. Handheld, medium-wide, 21mm lens. Camera 3/4 frontal wide on Bert at the couch. He gets up and rushes towards the garage. Camera precedes him. And here is what we ended up shooting, virtually verbatim to the shot list. Thank you for watching. Leave questions or comments in the description below, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe.